Lumpy Ridge Brewing.
Hey everybody, this is Adam Shake with the Estes Park EDC. I'm sure we're going to get quite a few people who continue to join as we go into this meeting. But first of all, I wanted to introduce myself, let everybody know that this is being recorded. So what we'll do when this is over is we will download it and then upload it to our YouTube channel. We'll put the recording up on our website and then share it out across social media and our communications channels. So if everybody, we'll just kind of go through some room etiquette here real quick. If everybody could just leave their microphones on mute, that would be great. I can mute everybody, but you can unmute yourself. So I'm just going to ask that you leave your microphones on mute. In the top right-hand corner of your screen, you should see a little bubble up there. That is the chat function. So the way this is going to work today is that we've got the Estes Park EDC, the Town of Estes Park, Visit Estes Park, the Estes Chamber of Commerce, and the Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development Team, as well as the Larimer Small Business Development Center, are all going to be giving you updates from their organizational perspectives in reference to how they're working with businesses and things like that. We're going to try to keep that down to 45 minutes, and then the last 45 minutes is going to be a question and answer time for you guys to ask questions. And the way we'd like to do that is there's that little bubble up in your upper right hand corner of your screen, and we're going to take questions through the chat function. We currently have about 120 people on this call, so unfortunately we're not going to be able to take questions via microphone. So if you have individual questions that you'd like to ask any of the organizations, please ask them through the chat function. It might help as well is when you're asking questions, if you have a question for a particular organization, you let us know who you'd like your question directed to. Otherwise, I'll just put it out to the group. Let's see what else. The order that I gave you, starting with the EDC, is the order in which we're going to kind of give our updates. So just sit back and relax as we kind of give you our updates. I'm going to do a roll call here real quick. So is the Town of Estes Park on?
Yes, I'm here, Adam.
Excellent. Thank you, Vanessa. Visit Estes Park. Eric, I think I saw that you were on.
I'm here.
Okay, excellent. Estes Chamber.
We're here.
Okay, great. Adam Crow, I think I saw you pop in. Are you on?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. And Michael Connell?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. I'm going to go ahead and give you an update from the EDC's perspective. As you can imagine, just within the last 2 weeks, we have been extremely busy working with all of you. And I want to start by saying that, you know, we have had over 500 individual conversations with over 200 business owners just in the last 2 weeks. So, which is wonderful. I know that there are about 800 business licenses in the Estes Valley. So obviously we're not reaching everybody. But if we have not had a conversation or touch base with you as an individual business or business owner or representative, I want you to please feel free to reach out to me personally at the Estes Park EDC. My email address is ashake, that's ASHAKE at estesparkedc.com. I would love to have a conversation with you, find out where you're at in the business disaster funding process and see how we can help you guys out. So please take down that email address, ashake at estesparkedc.com. I'm going to start with kind of the process as it started 2 weeks ago. We got a phone call from Larimer County basically saying that the SBA was about to pull the trigger on a business disaster loan process, and they needed to reach out to different communities to find out if there had already been an impact and financial loss due to the COVID-19 virus. So one of the first things we did was reach out to businesses to collect business impact forms, which we then turned over to Larimer County so that we could show a need here in Estes Park. And thank you to all of you guys who worked with us on that. That was instrumental in helping the SBA pull the trigger on the SBA loans, as you know. We started working with, a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of texts, a lot of Facebook direct messages and things like that. So we started working with you as you started to navigate the EIDL loans, and then the more recently the PPP loan through the SBA and things like that. I know there are a lot of questions in reference to is there grant funding and things like that. We do have a little bit of local grant funding that's coming out. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to let the town of Estes Park talk about that. I've gotten a lot of phone calls as recently as this morning from business owners and things wanting to know how to apply and when to apply and things of that nature. If I'm looking down, it's because I'm referring to my notes here. So yeah, like I said, we've had over 500 conversations with over 200 businesses. We also sent out a business survey that we worked with our Northern Colorado Economic Development Partners on putting together. That survey was sent out to Fort Collins, Estes Park, Loveland, Greeley, Berthoud, pretty much throughout the area. And we received all of the surveys back that came from Estes Park. So a lot of you have filled out those surveys. If you have not and you wouldn't mind, please reach out to me at that email address I gave again, and I would love to have you fill out that survey. What that survey does is it helps us recognize the overall economic impact here in Estes Park in reference to what our business needs are, how many people are being laid off, what is the total current loss, things of that nature. So we had a great response on the surveys. Right now, of the small group, actually it's a large group, but it represents about 120 businesses. And saying that, we have about 800 business licenses here. But of those 100 businesses that replied to that survey, we're seeing that we probably got about 500 employees that have been laid off throughout the Estes Valley, as well as about $1,700,000 in current loss of revenue, and that's as of Friday. So if we expound those numbers out to represent all of the businesses in Estes Park, they're pretty grim numbers, but we're using those surveys to reach out to you as business owners and try to identify your needs and provide you the resources that we can. So we've been very busy doing that. We're also working with the Chamber of Commerce here in Estes Park, Keith and Donna, very collaboratively with them, and they've been a great help, and hopefully we're being a help to their organization as well, and I'm going to let them talk a little bit about that as well. Also, we created a page on our website. It's the COVID-19 Business Resource Center. So if you go to www.estesparkedc.com, there's a large red button right there on the home page, and if you click that button, it'll take you to the Business Resource Center. What we've tried to do there is collect the most relevant and best use information and to provide to you on both the SBA process as well as resources for employees that have been laid off throughout the different industries, things of that nature. So if you haven't checked out that page yet, I would suggest you do that. I want to keep my comments kind of short because we want to make sure that we're answering as many of your questions as we can. So I'm going to give you my email address one more time. It's ashake, that's ASHAKE, at estesparkedc.com, and our website address, estesparkedc.com. Again, we have a business resource page on there for you guys to be able to check the most current resources and things like that. So saying that, I know that we have had people join just since I started talking, so I'm going to ask everybody again to please keep yourselves muted. We have about 130 people on the line right now. If you have questions up there in the chat bubble on the upper right-hand side of your screen, that's where we're going to be taking questions. So whether it's a question for the EDC or the town, Visit Estes Park, Estes Chamber, Larimer County, or the Larimer SBDC, please put your questions in that chat bubble. I'll be keeping an eye on that, and after we're done giving our updates, I'll go in there and start handing those questions out. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming and joining this meeting. Hopefully it'll be of value to you. And after the meeting, please feel free to reach out to me. And with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to the town of Estes Park.
Great, thank you, Adam. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vanessa Soulsby, and I am the Parking and Transit Manager for the town and part of the Public Works Department. Our Assistant Town Administrator, Jason Damweber, is also on the line and happy to answer questions this afternoon. A few weeks ago, the town activated our Emergency Operations Center as part of the National Incident Management System. And underneath that, the town has 4 different teams that are working on recovery. 2 of those teams are internal, focus on the financial response of the town and operational adjustments, and then 2 are external, focused on community relief funding and then also accelerated recovery. And so I wanted to give this group today a brief overview of some of the internal measures the town is taking in response to the COVID crisis, but I really want to spend my few minutes this afternoon focused on what we are doing to engage and support the business community. Regarding the town's financial response and our operational adjustments, we want to make it clear too that the town government is not exempt from the governor's stay-at-home order that was extended through April 26th. Town staff that can are working remotely and are not coming into the office or into the shop unless they are performing a critical function. For example, utility work, water, power, communications, and those that do come into the office or into the field are wearing masks and making sure that they are practicing physical distancing as directed by our public health officials. Our finance director, in addition to our town leadership, are working on a variety of scenarios for 2020 and has asked every department head and every manager to look long and hard at any of our operational budgets and make cuts wherever possible. Currently though, I think the town finance director is estimating between 45 and 55% drop in sales tax revenue for this year, so we are trying to plan accordingly. The town does have a 3-month reserve and does have a healthy financial position. However, all options are on the table, and we are looking at non-essential program and service reduction so that we can really focus on serving the community and providing the vital connection and service that you all expect. From an external perspective, as Adam referenced, there is a community relief fund the town has allocated $250,000 to help fill critical needs in terms of food, housing, and business and organizational support. And that group is made up of town staff as well as local nonprofit leadership, representatives from our business organizations, EDC and the Chamber. And last week, $28,000 out of that $250,000 total was designated for the Nonprofit Resource Center and the American Legion to provide food, to address food insecurity that so many folks are experiencing right now. Earlier this week, a grant was also provided to Crossroads Ministry in the amount of $27,000 to be used for food, temporary lodging, to help prevent eviction or foreclosure, and also for transportation assistance. And probably most notably for those of you on the call today, the task force has also recommended $150,000 in community relief funds for small business assistance to be provided through a joint effort between the EDC and the Chamber of Commerce. And $100,000 of that will be used to provide assistance to businesses for employee retention and payroll, and $50,000 will be used to provide assistance in meeting overhead obligations such as rent and utilities and insurance. More details about those funds will be coming very, very soon. However, if you are interested in applying for any of those funds, please visit the town's website. It's estes.org. Right there on the home page, there's information that will direct you to our page with COVID resources. You are also welcome to email me or Assistant Town Administrator Jason Damweber at any time, and both of our contact information can be found using the search function on the town's website. I would spell it out, but our names are not quite as easy to spell or understand as Adam's is. The last update from the town perspective, I am leading a group focused on accelerated recovery, and very fortunate to have a terrific team assembled with Visit Estes Park, the YMCA, Rocky Mountain National Park, ELA, the Chamber, EDC, all represented. This group got together last week, and we've met 3 times since then, sharing information between our organization. But also we are working on several key initiatives, one of which was helping with this town hall today. But the other 2 that I really want to mention are, first, a centralized communication clearinghouse. Heard a comment this week that the volume of information coming from a variety of different sources is almost a virus in itself. And so we are working closely with Visit Estes Park, who has graciously offered to host a communication clearinghouse where you can go and find public health information, grant information, how to volunteer, how to donate. If you're looking for childcare, we're going to have everything located in that one centralized location, and we'll be working on that over the next week. We're also working on a pool of business mentors. So if any of you on the call today feel like you would like to contribute your time and talent to help other businesses, that would be greatly appreciated. The town is working on that with the EDC, so please do let me know if you're interested in either being a mentee or a mentor. We'd like to pair people together within the community, and also resources from the Front Range as well, to make sure that we're providing and supplementing the support that the EDC and the Chamber are providing all of you. The last thing I want to mention that things are falling into place today is I am working closely with the Chamber and then also with the Estes Park Police Department to coordinate a webinar that is focused on the human and self-care side of recovery. And we've talked a lot about, over the past week, business recovery and economic recovery. And I think there's a really, really important piece that focuses on the collective grief and trauma that we are all experiencing, and it's unlike anything most of us have ever experienced. And so we are working to get a webinar going next week with 2 speakers, one of which will provide a medical perspective, a former executive of Salud, a nurse who can provide some updates on COVID, but then also a grief support specialist who's going to talk a little bit about some tips that we can all use to manage our interpersonal relationships, manage our colleague relationships, our employee relationships, and take care of ourselves and be kind to ourselves. And with that, I'll turn it over to Adam. Happy to answer any questions. And then I will have one recommendation, since it will probably be until next week when we get that webinar going. There's a terrific podcast for those of you who are so inclined. It's free. Brene Brown, the noted researcher, interviewing David Kessler, who's the foremost expert on grief and grieving. The podcast is called Unlocking Us, and it's a really good hour. It talks a little bit about, again, that collective grief concept, some tips on how to navigate relationships, and some unexpected impacts that what we're all going through might have on each other. And particularly relevant, if you don't have time to listen to the podcast, is the parable of long spoons. And I think you can Google for that. And I think it's especially, it hit home for me when I listened to that. It made me think a lot about the way that our community is coming together to support each other, and that will be our lifeline to getting through this and getting to the other side in a successful manner. So thanks, Adam. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely, Vanessa, thank you. And I'm just going to turn it straight over to Eric Lund with Visit Estes Park.
Thank you, Adam. And first, I want to extend our team's appreciation for each and every one of your support of our community in helping to follow the health officials' guidelines, maintaining social distancing, and helping to reduce the infections and shorten the timeline for this crisis, which is so important. All of us who work in the visitor industry, serve visitors, or run a business that employ local residents have been substantially impacted, no question about that. And many of our neighbors and friends have been laid off or have seen their businesses reduced operations or close, or have seen our great visitor industry come to a virtual halt. So we will, as we have done during so many different challenges in the past, rebuild and recover. It is so true that we are all in this together. I want to also mention that Visit Estes Park has positioned our visitor marketing to support the recovery as soon as we see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe we are starting to see that light because cases of the new coronavirus have gone down in the state for 4 consecutive days. So let's hope that that just continues to decline. It's a good sign and an indicator that we may finally have been at or near the peak of this terrible disease. Here are some of the things that we have done to respond to support our community and the visitor industry to sustain it and ensure that we rebound in a robust and responsible way. So the lodging industry alone is likely to lose $11,800,000 if we remain shut down through April and May alone. And June will likely be a recovery month, and we expect that lower than normal earnings as we recover. If it's 50% of a normal year, we should count on another $9,600,000 in losses. So in summary, we're looking at about a $20 million loss just in the lodging industry alone, which will have a substantial impact on our local tax collections and our ability as a community to deliver needed services for the community. We have identified three key transitions to recovery. Phase 1 is to the peak of COVID-19 in Colorado, and our focus is on protecting the health of our local community. Phase 2 is on the decline with a focus on supporting our local businesses and planning to re-enter the market. And phase 3 is business recovery. Now, it is likely we are near the end of phase 1 and entering phase 2, and we have developed a plan to respond through each of these phases. We are working with the newly formed Recovery Task Force team with the town, EDC, Chamber, ELA, and other community organizations to ensure that we are communicating opportunities for businesses during the crisis. We are also creating a central website, as Vanessa mentioned, where businesses will be able to find most of the information that you might need in order to help with your recovery. Visit Estes Park has directed all visitors to not come to Estes Park during this phase 1 of the COVID-19 crisis and to respect the safety of our community, because that is important, very important. We are also maintaining our brand messaging for Estes Park by offering a variety of things that people can do to enjoy Estes Park virtually. And you can find those things on our website. We have halted nearly all marketing and are saving our remaining funds for the 3rd phase recovery phase. In anticipation of phase 2 and 3 recovery, Visit Estes Park has developed a robust recovery marketing plan that will be able to be viewed shortly on visitestespark.com / you have to just go to visitestespark.com and then type in / transparency. Now, this plan includes our strategies for communicating with visitors about how to be responsible and safe when they are able to safely return to our area, and how we will work with the market to specific target audiences to get Estes Park responsibly back to a reasonable visitation for the summer season. Visit Estes Park has also decided to waive 3 months of advertising fees for our businesses who are currently advertising on our website with VEP. This will provide approximately $50,000 of relief to our local businesses for advertising from April through June. Visit Estes Park is expected to have a loss this year for marketing of approximately $500,000. But fortunately, our board has approved for us to access our reserves, which will offset that shortfall and make us able to respond with a strong marketing effort to support our local businesses as we recover. So we are in a great position when it is time to re-enter the market. And I just want to make everyone feel rest assured that we will have a nice, robust marketing effort in phase 3. Visit Estes Park is proud of our community and its response to the crisis. And we, again, want to thank all of our partners, the town and the county, for being so collaborative and positive in the face of this challenge. We shall overcome this together because we are Mountain Strong. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to email me at elund@visitestespark.com. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Eric. And if anybody has any questions for Eric, if you could put them in the chat bubble, I'll take those down. And when we do the second portion of this, I'll ask Eric those questions. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the Estes Chamber of Commerce.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Keith Pearson, and I'm the former interim executive director of the Chamber. In a moment, I'm going to turn this over to Donna Carlson, who has been on board on the team for about a week and a half, and she's taken over the role of the executive director. And my role is transitioning to an executive advisor, and our focus, or my focus, it was supposed to be on transition, and it was supposed to be on our focus forward for the chamber. But with the pandemic crisis and everyone's change of plans for the months of March, April, and May, my focus is now more on recovery and advocacy for our business community. That's always been the focus of the chamber, is advocating for our business community. But as Vanessa mentioned earlier, we are in a concerted effort to try to come alongside our businesses, whether they're members of the chamber or not. We feel like our role is to support this community. And Vanessa mentioned the Community Relief Fund. And specifically, I want to talk a little bit about the Business Relief Fund that she talked about, that she mentioned. The town of Estes Park has awarded $150,000 as a grant specifically for business relief for our small businesses. And the chamber and EDC and the town of Estes Park are working together to allocate that $150,000 appropriately. We will be putting out information for applications in the very near future. Specifically, these funds are for employee retention. So those small businesses that are facing the difficult decision of laying off employees, we want to provide some assistance so that you can avoid those layoffs. And then the other piece of it is specifically for business overhead, meaning mortgage, rent, taxes and insurance and bills and utilities. And they're out of the $150,000, we have $100,000 for employee retention and $50,000 for those overhead expenses. So as Vanessa mentioned, watch the town website for more information in the near future. I'm going to put some information in the comments, how you can contact us with questions and how those applications can be submitted to us. We don't yet have the final details for the application, so I'm not asking you to start sending those applications at this point, but I am going to go ahead and put email addresses there as well as contact information. Adam and I are working together on this process, and so you could reach out to either of us. With that, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Donna so that she can talk about our more forward-looking efforts.
Thanks, Keith. It's such an honor to get to start this job at this time. People have mentioned, wow, what a crazy time to begin a job moving forward a brand new Chamber of Commerce. But I think the beautiful thing about the way the board has voted to bring me on now is just to bolster support for the business community. We need it now more than ever. Even though Estes Park has definitely demonstrated that mountain strong ability to make it through crisis before, this COVID crisis is so unusual. It's creating an unusual level of stress on the business community because we can't even really adequately plan when we don't know when the town will open up. We don't know what that graduated opening will look like. So really, while Keith is focusing on getting relief funds to all of you who are really desperately seeking some interim coverage of expenses, I'm really focusing on the business recovery planning efforts, collaborating with the EDC and Visit Estes Park, as well as starting conversations with the NOCO Collaborative, ELA, other organizations who are creating solutions for business, because this is the time to demonstrate how we can work better together than we can separately. I'm also in conversation with other chambers of commerce. I'm on a chamber executive group that shares recovery strategies and resources. And you should be proud to know that while other chambers have had to close the doors and shut down the lights during this COVID stay-at-home order, we've bolstered our ranks to help you guys. And you can be really proud that we're well represented in that group. Also, working with Vanessa, like she said, on the professional, bringing in professionals for that grief recovery event that she's planning. I think from the experience I have in leadership development, 90% of our capability to withstand a crisis like this is really how we manage our leadership from the inside out. So I'm really glad that this effort is already underway. and we're pulling in resources who can really add value to your daily life, because if you're working better at home, you're working better at work, and we need to bolster our resiliency to be successful. We have a lot of work to do. And, we were just on a call, Keith and I were on a call with Senator Cory Gardner, just advocating for all of the business recovery interests that we've talked to you about. And I won't go into all the details, but just know that we're tapping into all the resources that are available to us. So definitely stay in touch with us. We're going to be putting together business recovery masterminds every Monday. We'd love to have you on that call, and that's open to anyone in the business community, not just members. I believe there will be a benefit to members to have everyone join. We're also starting councils specific to different industries to solve problems, in just trying to plan forward in each discrete industry. So please do contact me if you are really interested in being involved in one of those specific vertical councils. And if you want to just stay in touch with everything that we're doing with the Chamber, whether you're a member or not, just go to our webpage. Keith's going to put that link in the chat, where you can just go to the contact us at the top right and say, hey, I want to stay in touch. Let us know in the comments there what specifically you'd like to be connected with, or how we can help you specifically. And of course, you can email me, donna@estechamber.org. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Donna. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, I'm going to refer to my notes here a second while I'm writing down questions in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over at this point to Adam Crow with the Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development Group. Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Adam. And, I just want to start off by commenting on something that you had mentioned at the top of this meeting, and that was that you had worked with Larimer County to reach out and really start to understand the impact that COVID, even in the early weeks or early days, was having in Larimer County. And that was partially so that we could connect with the SBA and start applying for the SBA loans, or start applying for the designation in Colorado. And Larimer County itself was able to gather enough responses to qualify the entire state. So the response was really great in Larimer County, and the community that turned in the most responses in Larimer County was Estes Park. So punching way above your weight limit there. So thanks, Estes Park. And I wish that was for a reason other than Estes Park is getting used to disasters. But hopefully that changes in the future. The other thing I want to comment on is that Adam has mentioned all the work that he and Thomas Cox are doing with Estes Park EDC to respond to the business community locally. But I also want to mention that he is very integral and very involved in the regional response, because when we think about responding to a disaster like this, and we start to think about what recovery looks like, it's going to take a region to do that. And Adam has been very integral, and it's things like the survey, making sure our web content is accurate, our communication is accurate, and knowing that not every economic developer, not every community has the answer to everything. So how can we rely on each other to find those answers? So thank you, Adam and Thomas, for being so integral on the board of the EDC. So I want to touch on 3 topics that are specific to Larimer County, and 2 of them are very close to Estes Park and are reflected in some of the questions that are in the chat. And they're also information that is new as of today. So on Monday, the governor did extend the statewide stay-at-home order. And just within the last hour or so, Larimer County also extended the stay-at-home order. So both of those dates are set to April 26th. And there isn't a whole lot else that has changed in the orders around who's essential or who isn't. It's just an extension of those existing orders to April 26th. The other thing that there'll be an announcement around the extension on is the accommodations order in specific to Estes Park. And this is for vacation rentals and other other accommodations, hotels and such in Larimer County. So watch for that order to be extended. Don't have a date on what that extension will be, but it's likely to match the stay-at-home order of the 26th because it matched in the previous order before it was extended. So again, not a lot of changes other than just an extension in that order. And then along with it, in these orders, there are a couple of other pieces that are worth noting. And the first is who's an essential business and who isn't an essential business. And that sounds straightforward, but there is nothing straightforward about it whatsoever. So just know that Adam and Thomas are working hard to answer those questions. We in our office, and I myself am happy to help ferret those out. And there's also a hotline with the county that you can contact. So I'll go ahead and leave you that phone number. It's 970-498-5500. So again, 970-498-5500 to help answer questions just around, is my business essential or not? And then the final piece in these orders that's really key is that every business, essential or not, is asked and in some cases required to follow social distancing. And that falls into 4 categories. It's first that 6 feet of distance. The second piece is sanitizing often used spaces and doorknobs and bathrooms and all of those things. Teleworking whenever you can, and making sure that employees have those opportunities whenever possible. And then more of a recent one is wearing masks out in public or as appropriate in your workplace. So again, when it comes to the compliance or the stay-at-home orders or the accommodations order, feel free to reach out to myself. I can help to answer those questions, as well as the hotline that I just gave you. And the county has people standing by to answer. You know, the next piece, and this has to do with the announcement that the governor also had on Monday, it's regarding property taxes for the county. Now, as I imagine you all are aware, the county is really the administrator of property taxes, but the county can't really make and decide all of the decisions because it's set into state statute. So we really have to wait for the governor to make an extension before Larimer County can make any sort of extension. And then even with that, we have to work with our partners and our other taxing districts that rely on property taxes to make sure that we're not doing undue harm or everyone's on the same page when those decisions are made. So there was also yesterday a decision made to extend payments until April 30th. And really what that is it's allowing people who haven't made their first half payments, it's allowing them to pay until April 30th without incurring any of the delinquent interest that might otherwise be applied. So initially the payments were due in early March. Now folks who haven't paid that first half can pay up until April 30th without having to pay the delinquent interest that might be attached. The second half is still due June 30th. And it's hard to know if the governor will issue further extensions on these pieces, but we're just, as a county, keeping up with the extensions that the state sets. And then the last piece that we're integrally involved in is unemployment insurance. And this is specific to our office, which is Economic and Workforce Development. And we are seeing unprecedented numbers of people who are applying for unemployment insurance, not just in our county, but throughout our state and throughout the nation. And to just give you an idea of what those numbers are, on any given week that isn't COVID, that doesn't have COVID in the picture, we will receive about 100 people in Larimer County that are applying for unemployment insurance. Well, in the last 2 weeks, we have averaged over 1,000 people. So you can imagine that more and more people every day are applying for unemployment insurance. And then, of course, the CARES Act with the federal government has added some additional provisions. And some of these have yet to take effect. And a couple of those are the additional $600 for individuals who are unemployed right now due to COVID. So just know that the state is working with the feds in order to institute that, but unemployment insurance is really a state-run organization. We're happy to answer questions, but truly the application needs to be done online or with the 1-800 number through the state, although online is quicker. And apparently applying at 11 o'clock at night helps, or 4:30 in the morning. So if you're an early riser or you stay up late, that might be to your benefit. Anyway, so applying is still going to be, and determination of whether you receive those benefits is a state decision, so you do need to go through the unemployment system to do that. The other piece, which is still to be determined, is around people who are self-employed, are contractors, or are solopreneurs. These individuals will be able to apply for unemployment insurance through the Colorado system, but we haven't received a date as to when that would take effect. We are hearing that next week, or as soon as next week, that could happen. But we'll be sending information out to the community and working with Adam and his team to make sure this information gets to folks as it's released. But again, I just want to thank you all for joining, and happy to answer any questions that you might have during this time or even after this time. So thanks, Adam, for the invitation, and I'll turn it over to, it sounds like Mike O'Connell is next.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adam. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Adam, and everyone. Good to see many of you. I worked with you previously on some of the flood recovery work, as I did with Adam and multiple other people here. I want to talk briefly about the first thing, by the way. I just put up on the chat my contact information how to get registered with the SBDC, some useful sites, and I also put up a hotline for if you've already submitted an EIDL application. The only way to follow up on that is to contact the SBA. There's an 800 number. I'm going to forewarn you, it's not horribly responsive. And there's also an email where to send that to. So that contact information is there. What I wanted to talk about today is you've probably seen a mountain of emails about these various programs, and I'm just going to give you our perspective of what we're recommending and why from the business owner standpoint, and we're happy to have individual consulting sessions with anyone that wants them. But the first thing that we're suggesting businesses should be doing is to have a discussion with your current banker. For multiple reasons. First of all, if you decide you might want to apply for the Paycheck Protection Plan, that's going to be run through the nation's SBA 7A banking system. And if your current banker is already a 7A lender, the acceptance or the ability to review those applications, the banks are largely giving preference to their existing clients. So find out if your bank is a 7A lender, that's important. But you should also be talking to them about, hey, can I get a line of credit? What are my options? Are you deferring any payments? Multiple banks are doing multiple programs to take care of their businesses. So be aware of what your current bank is doing, reach out to them and have a dialogue with that. We're advising clients, hey, get an idea of how much money you need. Maybe you've had a negotiation with your landlord about your rent. You've had a dialogue with your banker. And after you do that, what do you believe your monthly budget or your monthly expenses are? And then say, multiply that times 3 to get a 3-month feel for what kind of money you need. That's a rough back of the envelope test for what you need to have coverage for. That's job one. Job number 2 is we are really recommending that everybody apply for the SBA EIDL loan or economic injury disaster loan, because you can get a front end part of that, which they're calling the advance part. It's actually a grant, but they don't want to call it a grant, where you can get up to $10,000 that's completely forgivable as long as you use it for the allowable expenses, which are a lot of our working capital expenses, paying rent, paying insurance, paying specific allowable expenses. So that should be done. It's only a 15-minute process to apply. I am not aware of any business that's got money received through that yet. When you apply, they do ask you for your bank account so that they can send the money to you after the application is approved. But I would do that first, and then the SBA disaster group is going to be following up with you about the loan part and how much of a loan you're eligible for. So the advance / grant amount, that's pretty much free money from my view. The second part is the payroll protection plan, or the PPP. And that's also a loan. As I mentioned, it's going through the 7A banking system. There's a real shortage of banks that are actively working with this right now, because the banks are still making the individual decision about whether or not they want to do this PPP loan, even though the interest rate's only 1% and it's a 2-year loan. 75% of that has to be used for payroll and is primarily designed to keep your people working. So you can apply for both. You can apply for the SBA EIDL loan, you can apply for the PPP loan, and then figure out which one works better for you. The advance is forgivable either way. And I think it's really important you figure out a way to cover that short-term dollar amount. I think the long-term things will be fine. There's a lot of money flowing into the system, but that short-term need is pretty important. In addition to checking with your current bank and seeing what they could do for you on a line of credit, there are 3 Colorado-based micro lenders that have been around for 35 years. They lend money on sweet spots between $10,000 and $50,000. I'm happy to get that to Adam, but that's companies like Colorado Enterprise Fund, Colorado Lending Source, which is currently doing the program with the town of Estes Park, and Dream Spring, which used to be called Axion. So those are good, credible organizations that are lending money actively as we speak. Nonprofits are eligible for these programs, and I will say that the definition is they have to be a private nonprofit, which is generally a smaller one, not a large public nonprofit. If you want help talking about any one of these programs, I again put our contact information out there for the Larimer SBDC. All of our consulting is being done virtually. You can talk to someone about these programs. You can talk to them about your financial situation. We've got people that can help you with alternate revenue generation, if that's an option for you. On our website, there is a COVID-19 tab, and we've got a lot of this loan and grant information on it. We've also got videos, programs, that are talking about cash management, reducing expenses, and just kind of weathering the storm. I think I saw Teresa Mueller on this call. Mueller Associates did a great videotape about cash is king, managing that. We've got a shorter version as well. So it's all about getting through this short term and then accessing some of these programs which we can help with. And I think that's what I wanted to say for opening comments, but happy to discuss questions.
Great, thank you very much, Mike. So I've been going through the chat, kind of trying to collect your questions. Some of those are actually being answered within the chat, but just for the good of the group, I'm pulling the ones out that I think may be relative to a lot of you. So I'm just going to kind of start at the top. There's a question: Are resources being available? Are resources available in Spanish for some of our Spanish-speaking population? I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to Vanessa from the town side in reference to whether or not communications are being offered in Spanish.
Thanks, Adam. I am aware that the town does offer some communications in Spanish. For instance, we do our transit brochures in Spanish. However, it's on a case-by-case basis. So if there's a need for Spanish translation work on some of those items, we can definitely work with the town public information office on getting some of those most important communication pieces translated into Spanish. So I definitely made a note of that question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Adam Crow, from a Larimer County standpoint, are you guys doing multilingual communications?
Yes, absolutely. So I would say that our office, if someone needs assistance with unemployment insurance, the state is available to help and does have applications in Spanish. And if there's assistance that's needed locally, we can certainly do that. And our operators, the folks who answer the phone, both speak Spanish. And that phone number for individuals is 970-498-6600. So 970-498-6600.
Great, thank you, Adam. Could you put that number in the chat as well?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. The next question I've got, I think Eric Rose may be on the line. Eric, are you there? No. Okay. Vanessa, this one may go to you. Is the town and/or police able to do it to stop people coming to Estes Park to visit, hike, bike, fish, etc.?
Yeah, great question. This has been a hot topic of conversation for the last couple of days. I know town was quite full last weekend. We talked about it first thing on Monday morning on one of our calls. I know that the police department has stepped up their monitoring of gatherings within the town. I've noticed over the past couple of days additional police vehicles out on patrol, just making sure that folks are staying, if they are outside or if they're gathering, staying the recommended distance apart. I also know that Rocky Mountain National Park had some issues over the weekend with folks driving around the gate, so they are actively monitoring the park and also citing people if needed. I know it's a hard balance to strike between making sure that we're keeping our local community safe and addressing folks that are breaking the rules, while also understanding that many of us are out there just trying to drive around because we've been stuck in our house for, you know, weeks on end, or trying to get out to walk the dogs or run away from our children. So I think there's a balance to be struck there. But yes, the police is aware of it, Rocky's aware of it, and I know that several conversations have been happening about a way to enforce effectively will not be punitive.
Excellent, thank you, Vanessa. I think I've got a couple people out there that have taken themselves off mute. So actually, I'm just gonna go in here real quick, bear with me a second. And I'm gonna mute everybody real quick. Okay, that's my doorbell, but I don't think I'm gonna be answering that right this second. All right, the next question is, does employee retention apply to sole proprietors? And I'm assuming this is a PPP question. We get this question a lot as well. Mike, can you jump in on that one?
Yes, and I'm going to ask Adam Crow to comment here too. In general, you can apply, if you're a sole proprietor, you can apply for the PPP loan. It looks like, however, financially, you're probably better off to file for insurance because it's not a loan. You're going to get a fixed amount of money. I will say that the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment at the state level is still putting out some guidance on this, because you've got a state organization that's looking at requirements that are coming down from the feds, and that guidance isn't worked out exactly yet. But as a rule of thumb, unemployment's probably a better approach for someone in that position. Adam Crow, comment?
My comment would just be in support of what you just said, Mike. I think you were spot on. And that we're hoping with the sole proprietors, solopreneurs, and independent contractors that unemployment insurance will be available through the state system as early as next week. We don't have a firm deadline, or we don't have a firm date on when that's going to happen, but again, we'll make sure to circulate that information so folks can get on right away.
Adam, can I say one thing I forgot to mention?
Absolutely.
I saw this string on the chat, but someone mentioned that keep your receipts in good shape, and I should have mentioned that. That's absolutely correct. This will be a reimbursement process. As those of you that went through flood recovery remember, you're not just going to get a check saying, here's the money that we think you need. You'll have to match up eligible expenses with a proof of payment. So make sure you've got bank statements and know where they are. Make sure you're keeping receipts, and the people that audit this are going to match up receipts and proof of payment, and then they will reimburse you for those expenses. So other than the very upfront advance part of the EIDL loan, which you'll still have to account for, you're not going to get money up front. It's going to be a reimbursement process. So that's pretty important to remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Absolutely, thank you. The next question is, I know some of these answers as well, but I'm going to put them to the subject matter experts. Is there a direct SBA contact relative to Larimer County and Estes Park? And I don't know whether Mike or Adam want to comment on that.
I will comment on it. The SBA has a regional office in Denver. They do not have anyone that is in northern Colorado. Other than disaster loan, which unfortunately Estes Park businesses are too familiar with, you can't get loans directly from the SBA. Their job is to backstop the banking system and work with the current bankers. So your existing bankers are extremely familiar with all the SBA products. My organization gets 25% of my funding from the SBA. So if there is a person who's got SBA ties, I'm probably the closest thing to it, but I'm not a banker. We're the business education support side of that.
Thank you, Mike. This one might be for Eric Lund. Question is, will there be specific guidance for lodging on how to greet guests, clean common areas, and more? I'm kind of looking at this as a post-COVID question.
Yeah, no, that was a good question. So I actually did respond via chat, but I do want to reiterate that we will get with ELA and our partners, and we'll include that as part of our central website. We can have those tips, and we'll talk to some of our statewide industry partners as well. I have to leave right now because I have to go to a Colorado Association of Destination Marketing Organization conference call, as a matter of fact, right this second. So I hope that answers the question. But yes, we will figure that out.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
Good meeting. All right. The next one. Can the town waive utility and give consideration for closed businesses? Again, some of these questions are being answered inside a chat, but I'm sure not everybody's keeping up with that. So for the good of the group, I'm going to turn this one over to Vanessa.
Sure. So at this point, the town is not charging late fees for any utility payments, and very happy to set up payment plans as needed. So again, I believe both Jason, the assistant town administrator, and my contact information is in the chat. So if you feel like you need assistance and or to set up something special on the utility front, please feel free to reach out to one of us and we'll get you connected to the right person.
Thank you, Vanessa. Again, Mike, this one might be for you or Adam. Are short-term VRBO owners eligible for EIDL emergency advance?
I will find out and try to get a more specific answer, but here's the breakout, and we largely learned this through flood recovery. If it's a business, if it looks like a business, you're probably eligible to apply for it and hopefully get some money. I know what the SBA disaster people, though, took pains to tease out was whether it was an investment property. If it was an investment property, no, they didn't consider that to be a business, and that was disallowed. If it's a business and maybe it's got an employee, maybe the owner is putting a large amount of hours into it, I think you've got a good shot at it. And what I would prepare, if there's something that's unclear or you've got a particular issue that is unique to you. I had a client yesterday who they bought a business 3 months ago. So here they are, they've got employees, but they don't have any history to submit. However, they do have access to the prior financial records. I'm saying write up a paragraph or two, say you want to keep these employees on board, and submit that with whatever you're eventually going to submit. So it'll help people understand that. And there's going to be cases that come up like that. But I will take it as an action item to get a better ruling on the VBRO question. Oh, and can I say one other thing also, Adam?
Yep. Well, I've got another question for you too, but go ahead.
All right. I wanted to make a comment about, there was a question about if you already have an existing disaster loan from the flood. the very latest information that I have seen on that is that you are going to get a deferral of that for 12 months. In other words, you're not going to owe any payments during that time period. However, it is going to continue to accrue interest. You're just not going to have to pay anything. You're going to get a coupon that's going to say no payment due at this time, but you're not getting any kind of waiver of the money. And Adam and I are going to work up some better information about that can be shared, because we just saw this from the SBA.
Excellent. You actually answered my next question, and that was specifically what you just told us. So thank you for that. And I know that you and I have been talking about that as well. So hopefully we'll be getting some more information out there. The next question is for Vanessa. Again, I know the answer to this, but I'm asking you to speak to this from the town's standpoint. Is anyone speaking with the Rocky Mountain National Park about reopening?
Yes, absolutely. Rocky Mountain National Park is participating on several of the town's committees, including the Accelerated Recovery Committee, and we are in frequent communication with Kyle, their public information officer, as well as other staff that are performing functions and coordinating programming with the town. So we are actively in communication with the park. They are a key partner in our recovery. So the short answer to that is yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Vanessa. So, as I roll through this chat, a lot of these questions have been answered. Some of them maybe need a little bit more clarification, but I'm going to go ahead and invite everybody. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. We're a little ahead of schedule, which is good. I want to be cognizant of everybody's time. And if I'm not answering or asking your question and it hasn't been answered, please reach out to me via email and I'll make sure you get an answer as well. So of our group of people that are giving updates, are there any more updates based on some of the questions or anything else that you'd like to add? Okay, not hearing anything. If you have a specific question that I haven't answered or somebody else has not answered yet, please go ahead and put it in the chat right now.
And, Adam, is my audio working? This is Eric Rose.
Yeah, it is, Eric. Thank you.
Good, thank you. I'd like to just address the bit about gathering again, just to clarify.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Vanessa answered that very well, but our officers are actively patrolling, looking for any violations of that public health order. One of the things I do want to stress, though, for folks is we are not pulling over vehicles specifically for out-of-state plates or anything like that just to locate if they are traveling. That's a constitutionality issue. But we will certainly make contact with those large groups or people that look like they're not following the social distancing orders put out by the governor.
Excellent.
Any
Thank you very much, Eric,
for
that clarification. We just had a question, actually a comment pop in from Keith with the chamber. I received a question today asking if the 4th of July fireworks display is still on. So can somebody from the town chime in on that?
An email went out this week with the events that we know of that have been canceled or postponed. To the best of my knowledge, the fireworks display has not been postponed or canceled, but I'll see if Jason or Eric Rose have any newer information that I have.
No, this is Jason Danweber. I believe what Vanessa said is right. I saw the list of events that were being canceled or postponed, and I don't recall seeing the fireworks on there.
I agree. I just see another question popped up that I might be able to answer. Shall I go ahead with that, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to ask you that question, so go ahead.
Okay. Yes, thank you. I assume monitoring the businesses is for security reasons. If that is the question, yes, our officers doing extra patrols during the days and at nighttime for all the closed businesses to make sure, to hopefully make sure nobody tampers or tries to break into those businesses.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. This one just came in. I've applied for the SBA disaster loan on the SBA website, but haven't received any info back. Should I be expecting an email confirming the application was received? I'm concerned that possibly I didn't apply correctly. Thank you. Mike, would you like to answer this one?
Yes, I will. Carolyn, that's a common issue. The outbound feedback from the SBA website is not good. I'm going to ask you a couple things. The SBA has changed gears a couple of times because the initial website crashed. When you did the application, it should have only taken probably 10 or 15 minutes, but what you should have received at the end is an application control number. And if you saw that on the screen, it probably got digested, and that would have been your indicator. There's no good way to get quick, easy feedback that this thing is in the system. If you go in the earlier chat, I posted the SBA phone number hotline, and I posted the disaster SBA email that you could send it to ask that question. So, but that is problematic because people aren't getting feedback about where this thing is, and hey, I'm supposed to be getting money. I heard 3 days, and that's not happening. So you've got my number. Feel free to call me offline if you want to talk a bit more about it.
Thank you, Mike. Craig Stevens asked, where can I access this list? I'm sorry, Craig, I'm not sure what you're referencing. I'm going to go ahead and let you pull yourself off mute and ask the question.
Yeah, I was asking about the list that was of canceled events in Estes this season.
Excellent, thank you. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Yeah, I can answer that. So I'll post a link in the chat. It's right on the homepage of the website, the town's website, estes.org. There's a running list of all of the information updates that have been posted by the town, and this one just went out, so it's not posted yet, but it will be posted there. So I'll post a link to where you can find that information. And again, I'll put my email in the chat, and if you will email me, I can forward you the list that I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric, this one's for you as well. Eric Rose. Are you monitoring non-essential businesses who are operating in, quote, sneaky, unquote ways? I think what they're referencing here is maybe non-essential businesses that are open, that they are not on the essential list.
Yes, I understand now. Thank you for that clarification. We're getting calls, and each call that we get, we investigate case by case. If there's a restaurant that we've had, just for instance, an example, not to name anybody, just say there's people inside that are waiting for takeout orders, but it looks like there's a large group gathering, we'll get calls. We will go and investigate those and educate those folks. As well as we've also had some calls in about people concerned that there's active Airbnb or those types of rentals online. And we've done a lot of research on that to find out that we've got just basically lag in the folks taking or not even worrying about taking those listings off. So they're not truly for rental, but they're online as a solicitation. But if the people, and we use our code enforcement officer to call all these complaints that come in on these particular items or issues, where we call and find out that they're not for rent, but they're just not taking them down off the websites. It's causing some confusion, but we've researched those leads and we've done a good job as far as majority of those folks are truly not renting at that time. We did have some complaints last week where we did make a contact with the rental owner and educated those folks, and they checked out that day.
Excellent. Thank you very much. This is a question. I don't know if this is really a J1 question or what. I don't know how to answer this. So Mike, you may be able to help me out on this one. How should seasonal businesses who will not be able to bring on their returning seasonal employees at the normal time due to COVID-19 advise these seasonal employees on collecting unemployment benefits? Adam, this is probably a question for you as well.
Mike, would you like me to answer that one first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, so this has to do with employees and not the folks who are independent contractors. So the way that unemployment insurance works and still works is that there needs to have been a layoff. So if these seasonal employees have not officially been laid off, then they are not going to be able to apply for unemployment insurance. So it would be on the business to officially lay off these seasonal employees so that they could go in and apply for unemployment insurance. That's kind of the baseline on how it works. And of course, it can get kind of complex on how to do that. So I'm happy to answer questions offline or field them now if that's appropriate.
And one thing I'll chime on to what Adam said, we do have a human resource consultant who can help with best practices on how to do that, working with the employees on it, things you should be aware of. Her name's Tina Todd. She's excellent, doing it for a long time. So you can contact us and just set up a quick 30-minute consult with her if you want to get that sort of assistance.
Thank you, guys. If I have missed your question or hasn't been answered yet, I apologize. Please retype it in the chat. And I just want to thank everybody for jumping on. I'm going to go ahead and give you, let's see, 19 minutes of your life back. We were originally going to go to 1:30 if needed. I just had one more question come in. I'll ask that. But again, I want to thank everybody for coming on this. We plan on doing this again if you all think that this had value. And again, please feel free to reach out to me at ashake@estesparkedc.com. The question is, if we are planning to apply for the PPP, should we go through some process to formally lay off the employees? Mike?
I'm actually gonna, Adam, will you want to take a first crack at that? I mean, that's kind of a layoff question.
Well, I think Mike, you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong in any of this.
Okay.
But the forbearance that's applied to the PPP. So if you're going to receive forgiveness for that loan, it does require retaining employees. And
right,
so whether or not you have laid them off and you're bringing them back is an option. And we are seeing some businesses do that so that they can apply for the PPP. But the other option is retaining your employees and continuing to pay them a wage. So Mike, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, thank you, Adam. So we've got clients who made a decision really quick that I'm going to lay off my staff. A lot of restaurants did that. Now they have a limited time to bring back these people if they want to get full effect and get full forgiveness from the PPP. They've got to bring those people back. Some people may decide, you know, I don't know how long it's going to take. This thing's going to be longer than 8 weeks. So they might decide, hey, I'm going to do the best I can for these people I'm letting go, and they're going to lay them off. So that's kind of a operational business owner question, because the PPP is good for 8 weeks. I've heard nothing about extending it beyond that.
Great, thank you for the clarification, guys. And Eric Lund with Visit Estes Park isn't on the phone anymore, but the question is, will Visit Estes Park send a new invoice to stakeholders? I would imagine that the answer to that is yes, but you know, not knowing their internal operations, I can't answer that with 100% certainty, but wanted to make sure, Bruce, that I was trying to answer your question. Is there anybody on here who does know the answer to that? Okay, let's see. Somebody said that they already got theirs, so I guess the answer to that, Bruce, is yes. I think that's it, guys. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll do this again as needed, or if you really think that we should do this more often than say twice a month, please reach out to me and let me know. Thank you, Sarah. I'm happy to host. Thank you all. Have a good day. Oh, and just to let you know, if you're still on, I will, this is being recorded, like I said at the beginning, and we'll download it and upload it to YouTube and share the link out to everybody. So everybody, please have a wonderful day. Hang in there, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you.